Our prayer for Jenkins, which lasted for a non-disclosed amount of time, has ended. Praying to Jenkins always makes my dementia ease off a bit. Back to the tier list, boys.
One moment, Joe, before we begin. Donald?
Huh. What is it, Barack?
Do you remember when I asked who that Volus in God tier was and you called them Pitney 4?
Yeah, that's who he is?
No, you fool. Pitney 4 is not the biotic god. Pitney is the one he worked for before ascending to godhood. The biotic god's mortal name was Niftu Cal. I knew something was off when I didn't recognize him.
Oh no, this is not good. Donald, you're at risk of severe divine retribution.
Wait, it was a careless mistake.
Consider yourself lucky, Donald, since you're a believer in the greatness of Richard Leroy Jenkins, who is a higher god. You're protected from the biotic god's divine might, but let that be a lesson to you.
Yes, I understand. I shall never make such a nonsensical, careless mistake again.
I'll just move Pitney 4 to who cares, because let's be honest, no one does. And I'll put the proper biotic god himself in God tier where he belongs. Now finally back to the tier list, we start with Harbinger, the boss of the Reapers.
I don't think I've ever once been afraid of anything Harbinger has said.
It's an absolute disgrace. Harbinger has none of the presence that Sovereign did.
Bro is too scared to face us head on and has to use the collectors in Mass Effect 2.
This weak-ass Reaper couldn't even stop the Normandy from taking off during Priority Earth. It's F tier. And now we have Donovan Hawk, the antagonist of Kasumi's loyalty mission.
That smarmy rich dude, it's just the type of guy I hate.
You ever hear the term pot calling the kettle black, Donald?
How can you compare me to Hawk? As if I'd be into that namby-pamby, overly artistic bullshit.
Hawk is S tier. He killed Keiji Okuda.
Good Lord, Joe, you can't be that down bad for Kasumi.
Barack, we spent 8 years in the White House together. You know what I'm into.
I'm not even going to acknowledge what you just said, Joe, and put Hawk in who cares.
Wait, why is Thane here?
That's Farron, the Drell that helped Liara rescue our body.
C tier. Farron isn't interesting, but given that he's partly responsible for Shepard's resurrection, we can give him some points.
Fair, keeping with Lair of the Shadow Broker, we have the man himself.
Now there's a character that makes a good appearance. The Broker is menacing and has a lot of gravitas, and he's a great final boss to the best DLC mission in the trilogy.
The boss fight is pretty sick, not gonna lie.
Let's put the Broker in A tier, and now we have Sovereign. This guy set the entire tone for Mass Effect 1, and his words to you resonate all the way to the end. Sovereign should have been the leader of the Reapers, not Harbinger.
Speaking to Sovereign on Vermeer is easily top 10 most iconic moments in the entire trilogy. It's when you know that this story is finally getting serious.
And Sovereign had that dog in it. When it finds out you're on Vermeer, it pulls a complete 180 to come smoke on that Shepard pack. Then on the Citadel, it says, fine, I'll do it myself, and fights Shepard using Saren's body.
Easily the best antagonist in the series, Sovereign is S tier.
Old Commander Bailey is up next.
I'm a big fan of Bailey. He's always willing to bend the rules to help Shepard out through their journey.
He's definitely memorable. I'd put him in B tier.
Agreed, and next up we have Gianna Parasini from Novaria Internal Affairs.
She gives you a smooch. If you help her on Ilium, she's at least B tier.
Why is the Thorian on this list?
It's just a giant plant.
It also introduces one of the worst sections of the first Mass Effect game, where you shoot at Thorian creepers for 15 minutes.
That Plants vs. Zombies knockoff gets F tier just for that alone.
Next up is Admiral Stephen Hackett.
Bro looks like he's almost as old as Joey.
Surprisingly, Hackett is only 49 years old at the start of the trilogy.
Jesus, he aged like milk.
He's got some city miles on him, but Hackett is the OG, the GOAT. The only one allowed to speak down to Shepard, but at the same time, always covers for us on our jobs. S tier.
Glyph, Liara's information drone, is up next.
Stupid machine.
Does anyone besides maybe Liara even care?
I won't argue, but how do we feel about Henry Lawson?
A man who was willing to do what it took to further humanity's advancement.
Donald Henry was turning refugees into Huss on Horizon.
And he and the elusive man were right and learned how to control Reapers. Also, all his research paid off with Miranda. She's genetically flawless, has great biotics, and will live longer than most people.
Great biotics, my ass. Miranda can't even keep the biotic bubble up during the suicide mission. Jack would have no diffed her. Anyway, Henry Lawson is trash. And the only reason I'm not putting him in worse than Jacob is that he's not around long enough for me to hate F tier.
Why is there a picture of TV Static on the tier list?
It's supposed to be Shepard's clone from the Citadel DLC.
The clone isn't as bad as Brooks, but it's still pretty bad.
I actually feel bad for the clone, if I'm being honest.
Of course you do.
It was brought into life just to be used as spare parts, and then it was tossed aside to do nothing.
I won't be too harsh on Clone Shepard, but no one steals my ship. The clone is D tier.
Oh no, why is Conrad Werner on this list?
Did you know he legit wrote a dissertation on dark energy? Bro has a PhD.
Are you telling me his full name is Dr. Conrad Werner?
Yep, as surprising as it is, that checks out.
Well, shit color me surprised. Put him in God tier.
Done. Now we have Emily Wong.
The best of the reporters you meet throughout the games, it's a crying shame that BioWare killed off such a beloved side character in a fucking tweet.
She's just another fake news media reporter?
Donald, you can't call all media outside of Truth Social fake news, but that aside, Emily is a great but underutilized character, B tier. Nyreen Kandros from the Omega DLC is up next.
Arya's old fling, man, she's just a goody two-shoes Turian who dies in a pretty lame way.
I'm actually going to agree with Don on this one. Nyreen is preachy even to me. Anywhere else in the galaxy, that would be fine. But this is Omega we're talking about.
I'm actually quite fond of Nyreen, but I'm outvoted here. How's C tier work?
Better than she deserves, but fine.
Next is Athena, Liara's father.
She is a pretty funny character, enjoyable to talk to like all bartenders. She has an interesting background as the daughter of a Krogan and a Sari pair right after the rebellion. Put her in B-tier Barack.
Looks like Lieutenant Bastard Kai Leng is up next.
Man, if you don't get that Reddit debate lord-looking Discord mod sounding Sasuke Uchiha head-ass boy off my screen.
For once, the old man is actually spitting. Kai Leng shows up in Mass Effect 3 and immediately starts stinking up the place.
BioWare should have kept his ass in the comics, but he's trashed there too. Let me go over all of Kai Leng's L's across the Mass Effect continuity. In the comics, he loses to Jack twice and gets his kneecaps blown out by Anderson. Leng lets a terminally ill Drell keep him from assassinating the Solarian counselor, and then he runs away from Shepard. He fails to kill Miranda when she has proper intel and loses to Shepard's team on the Cerberus base. The only W, if you can call it one, that Kai Leng has is Thessia, but BioWare manufactured that.
Barry, you gotta put him in worse than Jacob. I don't even want to think about him anymore.
It's done, and now Vito Santiago is next.
Who cares?
The only person who cares about Vito is Zaid, and it's just because he wants to kill him. The next character is Thane's son, Kolyat. A really good character who you feel bad for.
I wish we could have had more connection with Kolyat.
He's a good kid. I'll put him in B tier.
Ooh, another Asari beauty is up next.
It's Televasir, the Spectre you face in Lair of the Shadow Broker.
Vasir shows us the dark side of being a Spectre, really doing whatever it takes to get the job done, even if it means working for the broker. She has a decent boss fight too. I'll put her in A tier. The next character is Oleg Petrovsky, the antagonist from the Omega DLC.
Actually a good antagonist. He easily played Arya and took Omega from her, and if not for Shepard, he never would have lost it.
Petrovsky is also a villain with standards, staying true to his word so long as you don't cause him trouble. He might be the best thing about the Omega DLC.
I'm with you on that. He goes in B tier. What about Chief Engineer Adams, fellas?
A horrible crewmate. He got the offer to join us in Mass Effect 2 and sat it out.
In his defense, he would have gone to jail like Donnelly and Daniels had he joined us.
Excuses.
That aside, Adams isn't particularly interesting, but I don't hate him.
He goes in C tier then.
Now we have Karen Chakwas, Doctor of the Normandy.
Now there's a character who knows who to follow, and you can always count on the good doctor to have your back.
Donald, I thought you hated blindly loyal characters.
I hate Garrus because he's a Turian and boring as fuck, not because he's loyal.
You're going to make a lot of people angry if you keep bad-mouthing Garrus and Thane, Don.
Chakwas is still a likable character. She doesn't really do much, but it's always nice to have her around.
Sounds like an A tier to me.
I spot a filthy traitor coming up next.
That would be Sidonis, the man who betrayed Garrus and got his entire squad on Omega killed.
It's easy to call out someone else for being a traitor, Donald, but all three of us know you'd be the one to sell the two of us out if you were caught in Sidonis' situation.
No doubt about it.
I look out for myself first and foremost.
Anyway, Sidonis' guilt for betraying Garrus is very compelling and well written for a character who is only around for a few minutes. I'm sure many people don't experience it since it's easier just to give Garrus the revenge he wants. But Sidonis is a decent character to me. Put him in C tier.
I'm going to have to disagree with you here, Joe. Trust is a very important factor, and betraying Garrus is one hell of a crime, but I don't mind putting Sidonis in D tier.
That's a fair take.
Why is there a big stupid jellyfish on this tier list?
That's Blasto, the first Hanar Spectre Donald. And I won't have you disrespecting him in my presence. He's God tier.
Quick and efficient placing, just how I like it. Next up is Saren, a top-tier antagonist who stands as a great parallel to Shepard.
BioWare nailed it with Saren. He's imposing, but once you learn that he's moving against his will, you begin to sympathize with him because Saren honestly believed his actions would mitigate the destruction the Reapers would cause.
Even I'll admit Saren is a welcomed antagonist, S tier for sure.
The Quarian soldier Kalrigar is next.
An underutilized but still amazing side character, Cal Rieger is up there with Victus for badassery.
It's a shame he didn't make an appearance in Mass Effect 3, but his reported sacrifice to help the Turians brought a tear to my eye.
Rest in peace, Rhaegar, my brother. When I shot the Reaper on Rannoch, I did it for you. Okay, and now we have Navigator Presley, XO of the original Normandy during Mass Effect 1.
Who in the hell is this bald guy?
Presley is an odd crewmate. He is, at least officially, Shepard's second in command during the first game, but he has next to no dialogue past the beginning of the game. We don't get to interact with him at all. But when he dies in Mass Effect 2, it's like, oh damn, he really is gone.
Usually, a character like Presley would go in Who Cares, but he earns some points when you read his journal while searching the Normandy SR-1. In the beginning, Presley outright calls the Normandy a zoo because Shepard lets the alien squad mates come aboard. But after some time, Presley warms up to the aliens, admits he was wrong about them, and says they're comrades that he trusts with his own life. It's a shame we didn't see Presley's evolution, but I can't deny a person who grows past their bigotry and admits their wrong way of thinking. Presley is B tier. Erdnot Dag is next. He's Grunt's replacement. If he dies in Mass Effect 2, he is basically a Shepard fanboy.
I've seen cutscenes of this guy. He's all right, but he isn't Grunt.
Sounding like a C-tier placement to me.
Miranda's sister Oriana is next.
Who cares?
She doesn't even look like Miranda.
Now we have, oh God.
It's the goddamn Star Child.
The single worst thing to happen to this trilogy.
Why? Why in the name of Jenkins did BioWare decide to make Shepard hyper-focus on this random kid that died on Earth?
And why did the catalyst take the shape of this kid when there are numerous other dead characters they could have picked from?
Just seeing that thing makes me dread finishing Mass Effect 3.
Worse than Jacob and probably the worst character overall.
Is that Legion?
Kind of. It's the Geth VI that replaces Legion if they die or if you turn them into Cerberus.
I assume you've experienced it?
It's just an AI with none of Legion's uniqueness or subtle development. It is not Legion, and it makes that very clear. D tier, we're getting into some heavy hitters here. The Elusive Man is up next.
The Elusive Man is a poor man's Saren. His motivations are all over the place from Mass Effect 2 to Mass Effect 3. And I don't feel the least bit sorry about his death. He didn't earn it.
The Elusive Man's story is more apparent if you've read the comics, but that doesn't excuse the games for not making it more explicit that he's been indoctrinated the entire time.
The Elusive Man is still a human-first leader focused on doing the right thing and putting us above the aliens. Sure, he made a mistake and got indoctrinated, but he's still a hero.
Donald, we're not going to let you get away with this one. The Elusive Man is a good opponent for Shepard, but as far as being an antagonist goes, he fails to impress. B tier.
I guarantee the people aren't going to agree with this.
Why is there a random Marauder on this tier list?
That's no random Marauder, Joe. That's the Marauder Shields, the final boss of Mass Effect 3, nay, the final boss of the entire trilogy.
I know age has affected your mental capacities, Joe, but how could you forget such a legendary opponent? Marauder Shield stands in your way of the Citadel beam on Earth, and you must engage it in an epic battle. And if you fail, the war is over.
Ah, yes, I recall. Harbinger's final guard to stop Shepard. A legendary character and a legendary battle.
Marauder Shields is God tier. They stand as an example of how to create an intense final boss.
Oh God, Udina is next.
You know, for a moment I kind of sympathized with Udina. And then he tried to kill the entire council during the war.
Udina was justified.
Ain't no way you just said that.
Udina was doing what it took to get Earth help. The Council wanted to play around and make Shepard play diplomat during a galactic extinction event. If I could, I would have helped Udina.
Donald Udina betrays us in Mass Effect 1. How can you side with him?
He also denies your Spectre status in Mass Effect 2 if you pick him as counselor and kill the OG Council. But I will admit, I don't envy Udina's position in Mass Effect 3. He is one of the most powerful humans in history at the time and can't do anything. I'll put him in C tier. Now we have Aria, the leader of Omega.
Ooh, baby, she's an S tier.
She's kind of bland, if I'm being honest.
Who cares how bland she is? Aria is hot.
Donald, I need you to get some post-nut clarity before we do these tier lists from now on. Aria is a good character who can change depending on your actions during the Omega DLC. She's not that good, but I'll still put her in A tier. The GOAT Admiral David Anderson is next. Another character with authority over Shepard, but always has our back.
His final talk with us on the Citadel was a tear-jerker. Of all the deaths, his was the saddest. Dude finally got to sit down, and he just went to sleep for good.
Anderson fought the good fight for us in Mass Effect 3, an easy S tier.
And now we have the best pilot in the whole galaxy, Jeff Joker Moreau.
For a kid with glass bones, I have to give Joker credit. He not only helms the finest ship in human history, but he also manages to pull Edie, undeniable, godlike levels of Riz.
At last we reach the end. The only character awaiting us is Shepard themselves. Gentlemen, what do you have to say?
Shepard can be many things, renegade or paragon, a man or a woman, a colonist or an earthling.
There is one thing about Shepard that is certain, though. They're the one person in the whole galaxy that will always get the job done.
Shepard is a character that earns the respect and trust of their allies and the fear of their enemies. Shepard means something different to many people. The only correct place to put them is in their own Shepard tier. A worthy location for one of the most iconic player characters in gaming history.
All right, that was a long one and I'm tired.
What else is new, Sleepy Joe? But this was a solid tier list. Thanks, Obama.
You know it. Catch you boys later.
I'm going to jail.